Okay, so now we're going to look at your account specifically. We get a look before we can actually go out and start influencer marketing. We need to make it appealing to others. So we're going to just talk about the first. We're going to work the account kind of top down. First, we're going to cover up here, and then we're going to cover below the images in the next video. So here's my account, just kind of the header of it. Would you follow if this account followed you right now? Would you follow it back based on what you see? Okay, think about that for a second. If it liked a photo of yours, would you like a photo of its back? If you saw a funny photo from this account, would you follow it? What would make you follow it, and what wouldn't make you follow it? You get it. You as that what you just thought right there in your mind. You need to write that down. Whatever you thought of. Hopefully, you thought of something, because that's the answer. Why? You just put yourself in the shoes that you need to think in, which is the customer shoes. Why didn't you follow? For example, this is just a sample account here. You gotta do the same thing with yours, but it's tough to envision. That's why I showed you my account. So certain things here. I'm going to point out pros and cons of this profile being mine. So the image, first of all, professional, clean. I think it's really strong. The black and the white it adds a very crisp feeling, I think. The fact that I have a story right now makes that bright circle around. You notice all the big accounts always have a story running. So even though it's nothing special having this ring, I think it does deep down represent the fact that you're an authority, because given that authoritative accounts always have this ring, so it's kind of this association thing. So that's a plus. Okay, so far so good. Posts, okay, it doesn't really, as long as it's, the problem is, I think sometimes, now it's not even a big, I was going to say that if you have too many posts, some people kind of get alarmed by, pages that post way too much, but you know what, let's just leave that. It's fine as long as it's not 0 and as long as it's not 1,000,000. It's not a big deal. So next up, we got followers. Now the followers is quite low. Maybe not for a personal brand, but for if I was a company, I guess, if you would say that if this was a company name, like a fashion brand, this is kind of low. You'd want it to get over 10,000, and 10,000 is when they put the K in, right? So it's 10K or 11K or is it, they do the decimals. I think they do the decimals up until 20K. So it's like 10.1K, 11.7K followers. And then when you get to 20, I think from there on up it's like 20K, 21K, 22K, etc. I think that changes. But so 10K is kind of cool because you get the K in there, and it's, again, it's more authority. Not all accounts have a K in them in the follower count. So that's that. Following. If you're doing some following and unfollowing methods, which we'll get into some future slides here just in about 5 minutes, that's important, because if you're following a lot, they might not follow back because it looks like you're spamming. Another thing you want to notice is the ratio. So 1 following to 10 followers is pretty good. If it's back, you don't want it backwards, because that represents a really low quality account. If you follow 7,700 people, but only 800 follow you, that'd be bad. Okay. Next up, the name. I like to play around with the name. I mean, there's only so much you can do, right? There's some fonts you can do. You can somehow, people put these fonts in their name, I guess. You might see some, but, I put mine in all capitals because it just feels more aggressive. I guess it depends on your brand name, etc. You can also do all lowercase. Sometimes people like that, all lowercase. I just feel that, normal, where people actually do like the normal capitalization and lowercase, is kind of boring. So the next thing here adds a little bit of a conversion rate issue here. Depending on if it's a business, it really depends. This will, software, obviously, if you're not into software, you're gonna be like, what is this? You know what I mean? That's case by case again, so I can't give a straight answer on that. Retiring. Why do I say retiring? I'm obviously not retiring. I'm 22. I just put something provocative there that would, kind of spark, like, what the heck is this kid all about? You know what I mean? Like, obviously you probably had some sort of reaction there when you read that, so that's what I'm looking for, a reaction. So depends on your brand, of course. I mean, you might not be trying to go all Ryan Holiday on your brand, so you can. I like to keep it short. I hate long bios. Like, they can go 7, 8, 9 lines long. I'm not sure exactly the limit because I don't push it. I try to keep everything in 1 or 2 lines. 2 lines is pretty good. As you can see, this stuff starts to stack up here. The domain name, of course, you can't get rid of this darn slash right now. As of right now, you can't get rid of that slash. It's super irritating because I think it looks messy. It makes the profile look messy. And then you have, if someone that you follow also follows this account, their name is usually here. And then you have the buttons. Of course, there's email address and phone number. Not much you can really optimize there. I like the clean look, of course. As you can see, I'm trying to do like one-word answers and that kind of stuff. So I just put email, and that's it. There's no address. There's no phone number, etc. So that's that as for this part of the profile. So it's a matter of, see how much we broke down each single chunk and just trying to figure out what we want to portray on our audience. Professionalism. Oh, there's one more thing that you can get, and that's a check mark. I don't have a check mark on Instagram. I have it on Twitter, and likely soon to be a couple other platforms. But it's tough to get on Instagram, and I wouldn't really worry about it. But if you have it, you certainly get a lot more followers just from being legit, right? So the main takeaways here is obviously the follower count. That was the main thing. So people aren't going to follow an account that has 500 followers. So, and also let's just do a comparison. So WWYD, let's test your Instagram acronyms, or I guess youth acronyms, not Instagram specific. But what would you do? That's what that stands for. What would you do? Now you get 2 accounts here. What one is more appealing, and why? So we have a pretty high quality photo here. Obviously, it looks like it's photoshopped, etc. This one, not so much. The ring is on this one and not this one. Post doesn't really make a difference. Those post counts are, although one's 5 times, 6 times the other one, they're not radically apart. Followers. So as you can see, this one, of course, has almost 30,000. This one, 300. So and then the ratio on this is just backwards and horrible. That's why I chose this account. It's upside down. You want these numbers flipped. Okay, you want more people to follow you than you're following, or else you just look like a spammer, really. So this guy obviously just runs around and follows people on a mass scale. Okay, and then this, of course, this following ratio is good. It's interesting. That's. One thing that he did, it's interesting, is thinking outside the box, is don't put a name at all. If as long as you're exact matching up here, you could try to run with that. It would add a unique perspective, but it's case by case there. So you could run 3 lines, 2 lines. Everything else there is pretty good. So mainly what I wanted to show you there was the ratio in the images at the top in the circle. So let's move on. So actually, let's get into technical details. How do you get the followers? Okay, we figured it out. Pretty clear. How do you get more followers? So pretty simple. The methods. I'm sure you've heard all these many times. Ads are a very quick way to do things. Of course, if you're broke and have $0, not really an option. If you're a big brand, it's like a no-brainer. Another method. So if you have no money, you can do follow for follow. You can get engagement. You can go on your competitor's page, follow their followers, or even better, follow the people that like their photos to get a lot more response out of them. Again, that's of course free, but the labor is, I get sick of it pretty quickly. So you can put someone on it, or you can just do it yourself, depending on how low level, how you're hustling. If you're just starting out and don't have a successful project and have no income, I guess it's not a big deal to do that. Last thing you can do is buy followers, and this just isn't recommended because it's you gotta know what you're doing, because you gotta know based on, are they real followers, are they fake followers? Consider the source. What is the source? You gotta know a source. You gotta to know a source, you have to have someone recommend a source. The problem is with all the sources that sell followers, all the good ones are underground and quiet. If I told you a source for that right now, that I know of from people telling me, by the time you watch this and in 7 days or more, it changes up. They get shut down, etc. So, and you gotta know if they're real and you gotta know if they're fake. And that's not to say that fake are bad. And that's not to say that real are bad. I've seen people make a lot of success off of. It gets into detail, so just don't even go for that. I would just stick to ads if you have money, follow for follow if you don't have money, get to 10,000, and see you in the next video.